Hi, welcome back to Scotland Talks, bringing you more and more about the power of joy. I'm Ann Scottlin, and I'm here again with you today. Thanks for stopping in. We're talking more about the power of joy and how it can bring you less stress and more success and really help you find and be in your best self. If you haven't already, you can check out my social media at Instagram and Twitter. That's at Ann Scottlin, or my website, annscottlin.com. And I'll repeat those again at the end. So thanks again so much for being here today. I am super excited today to have a special guest on the show. His name is Sunny. That's his nickname, and his real name is Hendrix Wolfe. Hi, Sunny. I'm going to call you Sunday because I think it's the best name.
Thank you. Absolutely. It's amazing to be here and be a part of this space and just get to cultivate and really talk about some powerful things that I think that could help a lot of people. So I'm just super excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know you're in a place today where you've got a little background noise, but I'm just so happy that you're able to join us anyway. So audience, please bear with us if we get a little more sound in the background than normal, but you're going to want to stick around because we've got some really amazing stuff coming for you. Sunny has an incredible personal story that I think you're going to want to hear. He's going to share quite a bit about his life and the impact of the power of joy in his life and on the impact he's making on others in the world through love and joy, even in a space, which he's going to share with us later, of living in a homeless shelter. He can still find a way to make a difference in the world. And Sunny, I am just so thrilled to have you here today. And, what's on your heart first and foremost today?
Absolutely. The thing that's on my heart today, I would say, is specifically love. That's been such a huge thing and a huge part of my healing journey and everything that I went through. So I'm here to love everyone and spread as much love as I possibly can into this world, into this universe. And that's really what it is that I came here to do. That's my life purpose.
That's amazing. I think it's incredible that at your age, you're 20, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
20.
I'm 20.
I think it's absolutely incredible that at your age, you have a clear view of your life's meaning and purpose. Like your vision is clear for you. I know a lot of people 2 and 3 times your age who are still trying to find that. So that is really a great blessing that you have that clarity. And but I understand it hasn't always been that way. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. It always hasn't been that way. Like people always say, we all have a story to tell, and so mine has been very difficult at a lot of points in my life. I've been through 20 years of just hardship. So it's taken a lot to get to where I am now even. But, I'm excited to be here, like I said, and to be able to share the love that I have. And it was actually through self-love that I discovered my purpose. So I just encourage everyone to love themselves and love everyone around them.
That's amazing and so beautiful. I don't think there could be a more powerful message. That's amazing. So, so I know we don't want to necessarily dwell on the negative, but I think it's also important for people to realize what goes on in our real lives. And, sometimes people say, oh, I can't be happy yet because I don't have the right job, or I don't have enough money, or I can't buy the car I want, or I don't have the right significant other, or a million other things, or I'm just not feeling really well right now. But it's not always true that we have to wait to find happiness. And most of us, watching this podcast, have incredibly good circumstances and so much to be grateful for. And yet we still complain and feel unhappy. So I just want to share a little bit about, where your life and where you came from, and give us just a little summary about your childhood.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I've gone through a lot of hardships. It's been 20 years of hardships for me. At no point in my life was I ever able to really think about anything else other than surviving and doing the best that I can. And so my journey started, with my mom and my dad being on drugs and things like that. And I really didn't have family to go to because they were, either on drugs or, alcohol and that type of thing as well. So It was really just me. And growing up, unfortunately, my mom was, a prostitute, but she also exposed me to a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of violence, like extreme violence. I've seen, people die right in front of me at a young age, and just all these different things. And I've been beaten when I was younger. I was taken advantage of. And then I entered into the foster care system, and a lot of that stuff that I was going through still didn't stop. So I was taken advantage of in there, and I was still beaten. I was still screamed at. I still had a lot of trauma that I was going through in there. And then fast forward to, when I got out of the foster care system, I ended up getting adopted. Now most people think that when you get adopted, that it's an amazing story afterwards. It's just all good, happy, and rainbows and sunshine. But unfortunately for me, it wasn't. It was more of a money thing. And I don't know, what people's awareness of, how that situation goes, but there's a lot of money involved, or there can be in those situations when you adopt a child. And so that's what it was for me. It was just extra income to come in. And so I went through a lot of traumas there. A lot of the same stuff was happening. And then, that brings me to my point now, which is where I became homeless several different times in my life, different points, starting my earlier teens. And I was all I had. So I didn't have any really friends to call on or anything like that, because growing up in school, the way I carried myself was a lot of people ask me, well, why do you talk so, properly or whatever? I didn't sag my pants or anything like that. So I didn't really necessarily fit in with either side, because I was, I have colored skin, and, and on the other side, I wasn't specifically, part of their culture either. So that was really difficult for me. So I didn't, like I said, have a lot of friends or anyone to really call on. So every time I've, lost a job or whatever, I've had to, just do my best to try to figure out that situation. And unfortunately, you need people. We need people along our journey in life. And so I've lost everything several times. And, I moved out here recently to California from Florida, where I was homeless out there. I'm still homeless, but, now I'm fortunate enough to be in a homeless shelter. So that's kind of just an overview of everything, that I've gone through in life. So, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more of the story of kind of what brought you to such a generous and joyous and loving place in your life, here as we go. But I think for the majority of us here today, that is probably not our life story. And I just feel like everyone should be able to share their story. I think it's powerful. I think it's humbling. I had a very strange upbringing. I was very fortunate in
Yes.
being safe and protected, but almost too much, if you will. So I think by really getting honest with ourselves and our story, and being willing to, be vulnerable with others in a safe way, where we can help them realize that they can find joy and love despite a million things that may go wrong. It doesn't preclude you from experiencing joy and love or sharing it with others. So how long have you been out here in California now, after you left Florida?
For a couple months now. A couple months. I would say probably about 3 months, if
Okay.
that, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you had a really literally life-changing experience about a year ago. Would you like to share that with our audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. So that experience was really life changing for me, and that's really where I found out my purpose, through that and through joy. But it was an out of body experience. So, because my mom was on drugs when she had me, I unfortunately, suffered from chronic seizures back when I was younger. Now, when I started to get older, I ended up beating those seizures. But they say that seizures never really, sometimes they go away, but they can come back. So
Mm.
that's basically what happened with me. And the only reason why they came back was because of things like starvation, lack of water, lack of food, lack of sleep, and things like that, and stress from being, out in the elements. And, you know, at some points in time, I didn't have a tent because my tent had gotten stolen and things like that. So basically what happened was I started having seizures while I was out in my tent, and some of the people that I was around had called the ambulance. And then they ended up coming and cutting my tent open and getting me out of there. So they rushed me to one hospital, and that hospital couldn't get my heart under control because my seizures had thrown my heart out of rhythm. So at that point in time, they had rushed me to another hospital, and then that hospital wasn't able to stabilize me as well. So then they rushed me all the way to Orlando Hospital. And in there, I was in critical condition because my heart had stopped once at the other hospital, and then it did it again when I was in the Orlando hospital. So I spent quite some time out there. And so in that, like I said, I had a life-changing moment. It was an out-of-body experience. And what I mean when I say that is that I attended my own funeral. And so that was really eye-opening for me, even looking back at the situation. And there's what has allowed me to open up to be who I am today and start speaking. So basically I was at my own funeral, and there was like, I can't even count the amount of people, like millions, billions. I don't even know. It was just a blank white space. And I was laying in the casket, and I was experiencing that moment where I was in the casket, but I was also in another body outside of the casket. And so I was looking around, and I was like, all these people are so sad. Like, but that's me. Like, I'm okay though. But there was just people just crying and you know, screaming, and I'll never forget the sounds of that. And so basically, I just seen this figure of light, if you will, just in the shape of a human, but just light, come up next to me, and I'm looking around. And so when I turned around, I tried to tell everyone in the crowd that, hey, that guy's okay, because that guy is still, that's me right there. I'm okay. Um, but then that's when the figure had put their hand over my mouth, because they had their other arm around my shoulder. And that's when that figure had put their hand over my mouth. And then that's when I had kind of come out of it. And I was really emotional after that. But that's how I learned that I was supposed to speak. I was supposed to come here and show love to the world, and spread my life purpose and through speaking. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. What a very scary set of hours that must have been, from the seizure to the hospitals, to 3 hospitals, and then, basically an out of body experience, or a lot of people call it an NDE, or near death experience, where you see or witness something that's phenomenal, and for many people, life changing. Um, so, wow. So as you recovered from that in the hospital, and you were kind of thinking about that experience, what was going through your mind once you were kind of, back to yourself and just thinking about it?
I was extremely emotional. That's the biggest thing that I remember about the whole. My thoughts were kind of, foggy and stuff like that, but I just remember being so emotional. I felt less than human, and that's an experience that I would never wish on anyone, not even my worst enemies, because I didn't feel worthy of being a human. Because before that, when I was, before I had gotten into the hospital, I didn't really care about money or anything at that point in time when I was homeless. All I was trying to do was survive and get food. And, there was times where I would, ask people, and they would look at me weird, or, look at me like they were just disgusted with me. And so it was just a horrible feeling. It was so deep, and it hurt so bad, to just feel like I wasn't deserving to be human. I wasn't deserved to be even loved or be around anyone. Um, and so it sparked something in me to feel that, and like it all came out at once. Even looking back today, there's some times where I still cry at that, because no one should ever have to feel like that. And there's times in my life where I didn't want to be my skin color. Now I've gotten to the point where I've healed a lot from that, but it's something that you never forget. No matter how much healing you do from it, it's always there. From digging in the trash cans to try to find stuff to cover up with to stay dry and stay warm, because even in Florida, in the winter times, it gets cold out there when you don't have any, a nice warm bed to snuggle up into, or you don't have covers. Because there's points in times where I was just out in my underwear in a dirty t-shirt, um, and it's just going from, working so hard for everything to losing it all like instantly. Because I had a vehicle and everything. I've had several different vehicles and I've lost everything several different times. It's like a disbelief. Most people would think, oh, you dug in the garbage can, but you don't really think about that. You don't really think about anything other than survival. How can I survive the next 5 minutes, the next 1 minute, because I got so weak to, where I wasn't eating for, sometimes a week or better at a time, that, I would just be walking around because my body would make me stay up, as long as it possibly could, because that's just, survival instincts. And so then I'd be walking, I'd just collapse on the sidewalk. And like I said, it's something that I wish on nobody.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. I think it's important to hear the story of what it's really like, because, all of us, you, me, everyone, we encounter people on the street all the time asking for money. And there's a lot of critical thinking, criticism around it. And people, some people take advantage of that system, which makes people who might be generous feel less generous. And then there's people who are genuinely in serious need. And I think, they get overlooked, not treated as human. I wish I could remember the name of the study this guy did several years back, where he was homeless for a year as a research experiment. And
Yes.
and you maybe have heard of that. And the outcome was, he said the hardest thing, which was really what you just said too, was people just, either looking at you with some kind of revulsion, but almost worse, not looking at you at all, like you didn't exist, like walking by and you're just a light pole, and like you don't even take up space on the same sidewalk, and they don't acknowledge you even being there. And I think it's important for us to kind of know what that feels like, and appreciate, you sharing that with us. So after your near-death experience, as you were, once you came out of the hospital, what was changing in your mind? What were you thinking of? How did you decide your future was going to be different? And why did you feel like joy and love and giving back were so important, more so now than before?
I would say the biggest thing that went through my mind, even though I was emotional, and going through a lot, really, and just I was really weak, and I still had heart issues for a little bit after that. I think the biggest thing that came to my mind was the fact that I cannot let anyone else suffer from this. I can't. And I told myself, and I've been telling myself that one day very soon, even though I'm 20 years old, one day very soon, I'm going to somehow become a millionaire. Not because I want all the luxuries and all that, but because I want to help. I need to help. I have to help. And that was the thoughts that just kept circulating in my mind, that I can't let my brothers and sisters out there, no matter what race or color or, whatever they believe in, I just can't let this happen. I can't. And so that's what drives me every day, even in my days here, at the homeless shelter, when it's hard, that's what I tell myself.
So you want to help bring healing and joy to others, in a way that wasn't offered to you, to make a
Yes.
difference, to, as my club on Clubhouse is called, Healing the World with Love. Like that's a way to do it. And sometimes it takes some literal means like money and finances, which, by the way, Sunny, I just want you to know that I think you will be a millionaire. I really do. So you just keep believing in that, because I have no doubt that we're going to talk again someday, and we're going to have a very different conversation about what you're doing to really change the world, and bring joy to others, and also just in your everyday life. So now in your, here in the shelter, and as you go through your day, how are you working at this end to talk to people, motivate people, encourage people? What actions are you taking to kind of help people and meet them where they're at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that there's a stigma around, social media, and that it can be a bad thing and all that, and absolutely can, if we allow it to be. But for me, social media is like one of the biggest things that, I've ever been able to get my hands on. And so I use it every single day to the best of my ability, all day, every day. So I mentor a lot of different people. Right now, I don't, necessarily get paid to mentor people or anything like that, just because, I'm getting some other things, like a website built up and things like that. So right now, I do everything really typically for free. But I just feel that, social media has been huge for me. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All those different platforms are ways that I reach out to people every single day. And there's a lot of people that have my personal, number right now or whatever, are able to contact me in some type of way. And I help. That's what I love. I love being busy every single day, even here at the shelter and being able to help people. I think that, a lot of people feel not qualified or whatever, or they feel like they're just not good enough yet or whatever to start something. But I'm right here right now in the midst of homelessness, doing what it is that my life purpose is. So I just want to, let people know and challenge yourself, go out there, do it unqualified, do it scared. Do it when you're in the middle of a situation, because there's so much value that everyone, you even yourself, and bring to this world, no matter what we are going through. So that's important. That's important.
Absolutely. That's my favorite word now, because that's what you always say. Absolutely. I love it. It's my version of amen or whatever, right? Absolutely. I
Yes.
absolutely love that. So, and what else can you tell us? I love what you said about, making a difference, taking a leap, do it scared if you have to. Do it even though you don't feel sure about yourself. Do it whether, you think you're enough to make a difference or not. Just do it, because we all are enough. We're all enough to make a difference. We all make a difference every single day. The question
Yes.
is, what kind of difference are we making?
Yes.
What kind of
Yes.
difference are we making? And is it something that can help the world? And in giving, we're also receiving joy and love, and learning to love ourselves more. What would you tell people if they're just, if right, they say right now I'm just going about my everyday life. I want to help people. I don't have a lot of extra money. I'm not quite in the place to, quit my job and start a foundation or something, but what can I do on a day-to-day basis, just in the environment I am now with my family or my friends or at work, to really show people the power of joy and the power of love?
Absolutely. I would say start small. Start with small changes. And you don't have to go out and help people right away. Like for me, I was weak to the point where I couldn't even, it was hard to think. Like thinking took a lot of energy. I was to the point where, I had to lay where I was at in the middle of where I had collapsed at for days on end, because I just didn't have any energy. But I made small changes. And one change that I made, I told myself, if I at least can fight to get up and stand on my own 2 feet every day, even if that's all I do, at least I have a fighting chance to fight the thoughts, to fight this battle, even if that's all I accomplish today. And so like that's a very small change. That's a small change that we can all do. When we wake up in the morning, opportunities isn't based off of anything else other than the fact that you have an opportunity because you woke up, you're alive, you're breathing, and you don't have to tell your heart what to do. You're able to walk on your own 2 feet. So just start small, start anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a specific spot, because the truth of the matter is, along my journey, I've figured out that you will never ever feel like you're ready to start until you just do it. And it can be so simple. It can be, even in, just taking care of yourself a little bit more, loving yourself a little bit more. Start there, because that's where I found myself and my life purposes, through loving myself more in the situation that I was in. And that was extremely hard to do, especially when you don't feel worthy of even being a human. So just start really small, start with the small stuff, and allow that to grow. Do one thing each day that you love to do. Start there, and just let it grow, and then two and three things. And next thing you know, you're doing other things where you're speaking to people, and then that brings about an opportunity. But just start.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that you're talking about starting with yourself, which is something I also talk to my clients a lot about. Starting with love to yourself, starting with generosity to yourself, being willing to accept yourself as you are and love that. You don't have to, I grew up the very type A perfectionistic kind of personality. So it's very hard to often accept myself because I always feel like I'm so far below the bar. Like, well, but if I did or said or, accomplished this, then I would be worthy, or then I would somehow be good enough to make a difference. But instead just say, hey, this is who I am right now. How can I accept and love myself today? Take care of myself, whatever that means, to really care about myself and do something good for myself to grow me to a place where I can do things for others. And when I am ready to kind of come out of my own shell, then, what do you feel like is the foundation of reaching out to other people with words of love or joy? I mean, how can we spread that, if some people, maybe they don't know how, or they don't know where to start?
I would say, as far as that goes, just realizing and bringing your mind to a place where you can clearly understand the fact that just being you is powerful. Being you is enough. Being you is enough to change somebody's day. And it can be as simple as smiling at people. I don't always have days where, I'm speaking to over 100 people. Some days I do. There's a lot of days I do. But, even in the beginning of when I first started speaking and stuff like that, there was days where I had one people show up to a thing I was speaking at. There was times where I didn't have anyone and I still did it. Or there were times where I'd go live on, Instagram, for instance, and there'd be one person that shows up the whole entire time. But the thing about it is just you and yourself being who you are, just you vibrating at the energy that you are, and loving yourself and spreading that. Even just walking by somebody who's having a bad day, that energy exchange is going to be extremely powerful. So aside from that, I would say start with the small stuff. Once again, even just smiling at people. Like, I have a goal for myself to smile at everyone that crosses my path. Because that's something that I know I don't always do. Like, I'm always pretty serious. Like, I have a serious face a lot of the time, just because that's how I've been. Even through the situations. And so I have a challenge to myself where I try to smile at everyone that comes across my path. And that's huge for me. Like, that's a very uncomfortable thing for me because I'm a positive person, but it's hard to do some stuff like that. So challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to get down and get dirty with things, and really just really discover who you are. At the end of the day, we're on a floating rock in space. So even if you mess up along the way, just realize that. Like, have a short memory when it comes to your things, that your obstacles that you feel like you failed at. Have a short memory. Remember the lesson, but don't go any farther than that. Keep moving forward.
I love that. I love that. Have a short memory for the obstacles, and
Yes,
just keep moving forward, and focusing on the moment, being mindful, being grateful in the moment, caring about yourself, caring about others, just as you say, starting small, and having just a short memory for the obstacles, which I think, we tend to punish ourselves for the obstacles, whether they were our fault or not. Like in your own story, a lot of that was beyond your control, of
yes,
course. But still, it's easy to kind of, beat yourself up for being not in a different place, or, or even for someone who seems to be doing well out in the world, they still don't feel like they're good enough, and they're beating themselves up for not being different. So I think that's just really beautiful. And
absolutely.
And I'm also really excited for you because you have had a couple people encouraging you and mentoring you to start your own business, even though you don't have a home yet. Start your own business, a business for good called Rebirth and New Beginnings. Rebirth and New Beginnings. And as your first steps into creating this different world that you want to build. So tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rebirth and New Beginnings is all based on everything that I've ever been through. Everything that I've ever been through in my entire life has gone into this business, these t-shirts and the hats that I have, and eventually more stuff than just that. But basically I was reborn again through everything that I've been through. And so I just want to help to make that change to where, people realize how powerful that they are. A lot of people are like, oh, you changed my life. You did this, you did that for me. I didn't do that. My impact that I want to make on the world is helping people to see the power that has always been within inside of them, because that's what happened to me. I seen and realized the power that was in me. So I just want to help the world to have, their rebirth, and I want to see that everywhere. I want to see people, come out of the darkness, be reborn again, and step into their light and step into their power and authenticity. So that's just basically what it is that I do. And so, I'll continue to release more stuff, but right now I have t-shirts and hats available. So yeah.
That's amazing. And they say Rebirth and New Beginnings right on the t-shirt. And I'll
Yes.
definitely post links to Sonny's site and his business. They'll be in the notes of this podcast, so you can check those out there. And what's the core message behind that phrase for you? Rebirth and New Beginnings. What's the core message for people there?
I would say the core message is, personally speaking, is that at any moment in time, you can have a rebirth and you can begin new, you can start new. So if you've been going through a lot, it could be you've been going through something for years. You've been going through depression, anxiety. You've been, struggling with, for me, it's homelessness. You can be reborn new the next second, so you've been going through something for 5 years. And as long as you make a decision to love yourself, you can be born new again. And you can have that fresh start. And I think that sometimes we lose sight of that. Oh, I'm too far along in this journey. I've gone through too much for so long. But that's not true. That's not true. We can always make a change, and change can happen at any time. Miracles and blessings can happen at any time. And that's just what I want to challenge people to think about.
Oh, thank you so much. Every moment is new. So that means every moment is a chance for a new beginning.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think that's amazing that we can just constantly offer ourselves that, give ourselves this gift, this opportunity. Like, let's just start right now. Again, have a short memory of the past in some ways. Just start fresh
Yes.
in this moment and get rid of the baggage and just be present, be grateful, love ourselves and help care for others, which there can't be a better message than that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sonny, for being here. You have made my week. I am so grateful to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your beautiful soul with us here today. And I'll definitely post some links in the notes so you all can check out Sonny and what he has and his rebirth and new beginnings and his new business. We'd love if you'd help him and support him as he works to build a life for himself, helping others. So this has been Scottlin Talks. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Ann Scottlin, here to talk to you about the power of love and joy, bringing you less stress and more success. You can find out more about me at my website, which is annscottlin.com, or on my platforms, Twitter, Instagram, @AnnScottlin, and at Clubhouse @AnnScottlin. I have a club there called Healing the World with Love. And right now we're meeting on Tuesdays at 11 Pacific time. Please drop in. We'd love to hear your story, share your voice, finding common denominators and creating understanding in the world around us. So thank you all again for being here. I wish you a joyful week. Thank you again, Sonny. It's been such a pleasure. And thanks again. I so appreciate your story, and I'm so sure that other people have as well.
Thank you, Ann.
All right. All right, be well, and I will see you again next week. Thanks. Bye.